the beginning part of the Kaliya Damana Lila. And the Kaliya Damana Lila begins at the end of chapter 15. Because the middle part, or most of chapter 15, is a pastime of Krishna before the Kaliya Lila, and that's Dhenukasura Lila, chapter 15. And then before the chapter ends, Shukadeva Goswami begins discussing the next pastime, the Kaliya Lila. So it runs, the Monday evening, the first Tuesday first evening, it ran from the end of chapter 15 to verse 9 in chapter 16. And in verse 9, there was some homework assignment given to Pran Govinda, and he hasn't reported back yet. But I'm sure he'll search. And the question that he was going to research was the commentary on text number 9 from Sanatana Goswami in Sanskrit, but he has the Bengali version of the Sanskrit commentary. What exactly is said in the Sanatana Goswami's commentary to text 9? Because at least the translation that I had received gave an indication that Sanatana Goswami saw beyond the diabolical behavior of Kaliya, and he saw what was beneath, that there was some devotion to Krishna beneath the bad behavior. And when he did something that was, he bit Krishna in the chest, text number 9, it was a lover's bite. It was meant out of love and so forth and so on, that he actually had love for Krishna in his heart. And there's things coming up. Let's see what Sanatana Goswami says in text 16. I'll also give some other assignment to Pran Govinda to research. In another place, Sanatana Goswami seems to say something quite similar. And the something quite similar is basically that by the good association of his wives, who were pure devotees, there was some affection or affinity or liking or something in there, it favorable to Krishna, although he was doing things that were just the opposite. And just the opposite was the covering, and when the covering was removed, he became a nice devotee, Kaliya. Well, he kind of became a nice devotee. I'm saying kind of because there was reference to, some of you are newer. If I'm not speaking things that are relevant to you, stop me, or say, come again, please. It's one of the writings of Sanatana Goswami, one of the primary writings of Sanatana Goswami was Brihat Bhagavatamrita. And Brihat means great. Bhagavat, Amrita, the nectar of the Srimad Bhagavatam. It's a commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam, a great commentary. And in that Brihat Bhagavatamrita, part 2, there's a narration of Kaliya after the whole pastime, the end of chapter 17. We're still in chapter 16. At the end of chapter 17, he becomes relieved. He becomes a devotee, or becomes a devotee. His devotional side is prominent. And he begs forgiveness for his bad conduct. Krishna forgives him, and he banishes him from Vrindavan. He tells him, go back home. Not back to Godhead either. Go back home to Ramanaka Lake, where he came from. But don't worry, Garuda won't pursue you because you have the marks of my lotus feet on your heads. We have 1,000 heads. It's a big snake. So you'll be fine. So in Brihat Bhagavatamrita, Kaliya comes back. Kaliya comes back. After all of that, he comes back. And guess what? He does the same thing again. He pollutes the river Jamuna. He goes to the same lake in the river Jamuna, and he makes poison everywhere. And there's a whole narration. We heard a little bit about it from Pran Govinda. So if you like, you can, in your own leisure, you can read his return. And then Krishna does something similar but different. He doesn't go with his cowherd boyfriends because he's concerned they might enter the river Jamuna and get poisoned. Then there's a commentary. In Sanatana Goswami's commentary is, because they have Satchitananda bodies, they can't be poisoned. The bodies of Satchit Ananda cannot be killed by poison or any other thing. But it's a pastime in which Krishna is concerned, and so he doesn't inform them. He just sneaks off and does the same thing that he did before. He enters into the waters of the Kaliya serpent. The Kaliya serpent gets all riled up, and there's the whole thing all over again. And he liberates him and dances on his hoods. And then the gopis come to see Krishna's dancing on the hoods of the Kaliya serpent, and he invites them. He has a long arm, or he has mystic powers by which he brings them to dance with him on the hoods of the Kaliya serpent. It becomes a rasa dance place on the hoods of the Kaliya serpent. And then the wives of the Kaliya serpent come forward, and he takes their shawls. That's the word that's used, at least in the translation, Gopi Pranadana Prabhu's translation. He takes the shawls of the wives of the Kaliya serpent. He puts the shawls through the noses of the Kaliya serpent. He plays horsey. He makes his own carrier. And he chastises him, and he feels happy that Krishna danced on his hoods, and there's what to speak of Rasa dance on his hoods, and he's blessed, and he goes back to Ramanaka Lake, and they lived happily ever after, right? Brihat Bhagavatamrita. So Monday evening ended with verse number 9, where Krishna's in the coils of the Kaliya serpent, and Kaliya bites him. And then we start with this morning, chapter 16, started with verse number 10, and we went through 23. And a quick summary, 10 through 23, is Krishna stimulating the ecstatic love of his devotees. And that's everybody, from the cows to the elder, to his boyfriends, to the young gopis. Everyone becomes, their love for Krishna is challenged by danger. And so their love intensifies and intensifies and intensifies, and there's different responses. Many of those responses are they faint, and they cry, and they call out, and different things happen. What does Balaram do? Balaram just smiles. Sanatana Goswami makes a comment that Shukadeva Goswami was angry at him. What? You're all powerful and you didn't say anything. You just smiled. What's wrong with you? And, the narrator of Srimad Bhagavatam has emotions too. He's not just rubber. He has feelings, transcendental, rasika feelings, and he loves Krishna very much. And even he knows that Balaram is also omniscient, but he loves Krishna so much. So he has some feelings towards Balaram. Why didn't you do something or say something or intervene, or why do you remain neutral? The explanation of why he remained neutral is there's multiple parts. But we heard this morning. He knew that Krishna is all powerful, and that Krishna was just having sport. And there's zero danger for Krishna because he's all powerful. He's just playing, and he's ready to stop the Brijbasis from doing something extreme, like entering into the Kaliya lake and giving up their life. Because what's life without Krishna? There's all of this discussion of the different personalities, different relationships, different rasas with Krishna across the board, and how they all felt. And Krishna was doing that purposefully, and then we ended when Krishna realized, they're feeling great pain. It's not like he didn't know, but that the moods shifted to recognizing they're nearly about to give up their lives. So I should stop this game and intensifying their love for me, and I'll escape. So we ended, that's where we ended, verse 23 this morning, where Krishna decides, all right, you tried to crush me with your coils, you tried to bite me with your fangs, now I'll show you some transcendental power. And then Krishna just expanded his body so quickly because he has mystic powers, Mahima Siddhi. He became so big that the coils of the Kaliya serpent couldn't contain him anymore, and he slipped out. And that's where we ended this morning. Little background. Now, some of you may be really, really new, and all of this is like, what the heck is going on here? Is there anybody in that category that I need to go do a little background, step back 10 giant steps and... Huh? Are you wanting me to step back and do the big picture? Here's the big picture, quickly, 2 sentences. The big picture is there's a pastime. Pastime is a nice Sanskrit word, Lila, where Krishna is exhibiting his energies, his shaktis, in such a way that it stimulates the love of everybody in different ways according to their relationship with him. Krishna is stimulating their love. And it's one of the purposes for which he comes to this world, to stimulate love of his devotees and those of us that are not present when Krishna appeared, but by hearing, to stimulate our love by hearing, because the potency of the pastime is within the sound vibration. So we may also become stimulated just by hearing. So that's what's going on. His all attractiveness is his stimulation of love. And there's much to say about that, but that's a synopsis. So now we're ready for today. And today is the gesture that Krishna makes to slip from the coils of the Kaliya serpent. Kaliya becomes really angry at Krishna, and he tries to even more intensely to get him, and Krishna exhausts him because Krishna is better. And then and when he's exhausted, Krishna jumps on his hoods and dances on his hoods and purifies him in a way, such special way, and that whole section ends, he's exhausted. He's purified, and then the wives of the Kaliya serpent come forward and begin what's going to happen next time we touch this topic, the wives of the Kaliya serpent are going to offer prayers. And there's 3 divisions of those prayers, and we're going to hear them slowly and carefully because they're wonderful prayers. They're pure devotees' prayers. The sections, once upon a time, I was very enthusiastic. And I volunteered to become a teacher at the Vrindavan Institute for Higher Education. Burijan had organized it, and so I first spent a whole month, the month of Kartik, in Vrindavan. It was transcendentally nice. So I was looking for topics. So I thought, hey, here's a nice topic. Prayers from the Srimad Bhagavatam. There's 18,000 verses in Srimad Bhagavatam, and maybe a third of them are prayers. It was too much. So sections of prayers, okay. So this is what we're doing tomorrow and the next day. One of the sections of prayers. And then there's subdivisions of those prayers. But they're very elevated. These are pure devotees' prayers praying to Krishna with 3 different themes. And different meters for those different sets of prayers, and it's going to be nice. I'm looking forward to it. I hope you are also. So that's our subject for today, starting with verse 24, going to the end where the prayers of the wives begin. So as we did yesterday, here's a little prayer that's been recorded, and you can just follow along with what's on the screen. This is Rupa Goswami prayers.
Kamam damodara mama mana pannaga pila bhogo Kamam damodara mama mana pannaga pila bhogo Dushtasili kutila valanai शोभयत्येष लोकम् दुष्टासिभिः कुटिलवलनैः शोभयत्येष लोकम् तद्विक्रान्तस्त्वमुदितपद द्वन्द्वपङ्केरुहाकम् तद्विक्रान्तस्त्वमुदितपद द्वन्द्वपङ्केरुहाकम् कुर्वन्तर्वीकर दमनहे ताण्डवे दण्डयामि कुर्वन्तर्वीकर दमनहे ताण्डवे दण्डयामि
O Lord Krishna, with its crooked motions and the sharp fangs of its wicked desires, this great snake of my mind torments the entire world. O powerful Lord, O crusher of Kaliya, please punish that snake with your dancing. Please place on it the mark of your lotus feet. So this is where we ended yesterday, the rage of Kaliya when Krishna escaped from his coils, and then Krishna's dance. So we're starting with verse 24, because we ended this morning with verse 23. His coils, tormented by the expanding body of the Lord, Kaliya released him. In great anger, the serpent then raised his hoods high and stood still, breathing heavily. He wants to attack. His nostrils appeared like vessels for cooking poison, and the staring eyes in his face appeared like firebrands. Thus, the serpent looked at the Lord. Now, the person he's looking at, we heard the description earlier. He's seeing, we discussed this yesterday. Beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. So he's seeing what the residents of Vrindavan see as the object of their life and soul. And he's seeing something else. He's seeing, I want to kill this person. By Krishna slightly expanding his body, the snake's coils began to ache as if being torn. Sanatana Goswami writes, the word Atma indicates that Kaliya identified with his body and thus felt extreme pain. Now take a close look at Kaliya, the fangs, and his eagerness to bite Krishna, and similar painting. Krishna's body had been bound tightly by Kaliya's coils. When Krishna expanded his body, the snake began breathing loudly because of anger arising from pain inflicted on his coils. Now, he's to blame for his pain, but anyway, his nostrils were filled with poison, and thus, by breathing heavily, he released more poison. Now, note that the expression on Krishna's face, and note how the expression is changing here. Got it? Here's the previous, and here's the smile. Look, there's demigods up above. His nostrils were like pots of poison. His glances were red, filled with poison. He released flames of poison from his mouth. Flames of poison from his mouth. The descriptions became more and more fearsome. But Krishna's not worried, and he's going to look right back at him. The snake glared at Krishna, who was eager to take away Kaliya's residence and remove his bad qualities. So the residence was, he had polluted the river Jamuna. The river Jamuna is sacred, and you pollute the river Jamuna. Get out of town, Buster. The real meaning is, Kaliya looked at Krishna because Krishna was most attractive. Now this is Sanatana Goswami seeing the good side of the demon. He did not feel pain, Kaliya. He was angry out of affection because Krishna quickly separated from his embrace. No, that was good. With affection, oh, you're good. His nostrils holding pots of poison and his mouth emitting flames are natural qualities of the snake. Sanatana Goswami has a special take on Kaliya. It's a mystery. It's really a mystery. Next verse. Again and again, Kaliya licked his lips with his bifurcated tongues as he stared at Krishna with a glance full of terrible, poisonous fire. Now, this doesn't show him staring at Krishna with poisonous, terrible fire, but this is a kind of more comic strip picture of the same. There's fire, and he's staring at Krishna, and Krishna's staring back because he's out of the coils. But Krishna playfully circled around him, just as Garuda would play with a snake. Garuda and Krishna are likened, and a snake in Garuda's care and Kaliya in Krishna's care are compared. In response, Kaliya also moved about, looking for an opportunity to bite the Lord. So Krishna's moving around here, moving around there. Kaliya's getting dizzy, trying to keep up with him, but he can't keep up with him because he's faster. And he gets dizzy and he gets worn out. Next verse. Having severely depleted the serpent's strength with his relentless circling, Sri Krishna, the origin of everything, pushed down Kaliya's raised shoulders and mounted his broad serpentine heads. So, first step was tire him out. Next step was get on his hoods and start his dance. And Kaliya still wants to bite him. And Krishna's avoiding the bites of Kaliya by his dance steps. Thus, Lord Krishna, the original master of all fine arts, began to dance. His lotus feet deeply reddened by the touch of the numerous jewels upon the serpent's heads. So this painting doesn't so much show the red jewels, but there's a certain feature of these paintings. If you see, Krishna's got his flute in his right hand, and he's holding the tail with his left hand. And there's many such paintings like this. Kaliya, who had very high shoulders, gradually became tired from turning around to catch Krishna. Thus, Krishna was able to bend down his head with one hand. No, his head means 1,000 heads. Raising himself upon Kaliya's head, he began to dance. That's Vishwanath's commentary. He danced with his lotus feet. Now this one doesn't show the flute in his right hand, but his left hand is holding his tail. He danced with his lotus feet, which were reddened because of the hard touch of all the jewels on Kaliya's head. A dancer sometimes dances on various objects, such as dishes, to show his expertise. Now that's a new one for me. But dancers, it's not a new one. They know how to dance on balls, and they know how to dance on dishes, and they know how to Bharatanatyam style, like the bells on their ankles. And Krishna danced on the moving heads of Kaliya. So the heads of Kaliya are moving this way, that way, trying to bite, and Krishna's dancing to show that he was the original guru of all arts. He especially wanted to show the young women of Vraja his skill in dancing. Check it out, girls. Krishna grabbed Kaliya's head with his hand and forced it to bow down. Most people in this world are quite reluctant to bow down to the Supreme Person. This is BBT. This chapter 16 was not during Prabhupada's time. This is after Prabhupada departed, so it's therefore BBT. It's not Prabhupada, but it's okay. As conditioned souls, we become proud of our insignificant position and are reluctant to bow down before the Lord. Therefore, the Supreme Lord's energy, in the form of irresistible time, kills all conditioned souls and thus forces them to bow down their arrogant heads. We should therefore give up the artificial position of material life and become faithful servants of the Supreme Lord, enthusiastically bowing down at his lotus feet. So there's a classic Bhagavad Gita painting. You've seen this one before. There's Maya Devi at the bottom and Krishna up at the top. And living entities are making choices between forgetting Krishna or remembering Krishna. And there are different steps labeled envy, ignorance, anger, lust, etc., etc., etc. And then going upwards, going to the choice of Krishna. Next verse. In color-coded, tadiya. What does tadiya mean? Most of you know the word tadiya. It means in relation to Krishna. Commonly it's paraphernalia. Tadiya. Okay. So in this case, it's the Brajvasis. They're tadiya. There's different applications of the same term. In this case, it's tadiya. It's his servants. And then at the bottom is a purple color-coded. These are what some of the musical instruments. With great pleasure, these tadiyas, the demigods particularly, with great pleasure began accompanying the Lord's dancing by playing drums such as mridangas, pandavas, and anakas. They also made offerings of songs, flowers, and prayers. So they're having a good time, as he's having a good time, subduing the envious and other contaminated tendencies of Kaliya. Tadiya refers to the Lord's associates, like Garuda. There's Garuda in the painting. You see there's Kaliya in the center. Krishna's holding his tail with his left hand. And there's Garuda just by his other foot, and other devas offering their prayers. The others in the list are from Swarga. This is interesting. Or the Gandharvas and others in the list can be those residing in Vaikuntha. Now, my experience is these Gandharvas and other Chanras and Kinnaras and Siddhas, and they're not in Swarga. They're not in Bhoma. They're the in-between place. Bhuvarloka, Bhuvarloka, Svargaloka. So Bhuvarloka region. They're not demigods. They're kind of like assistant to the demigods, and they dance. The apsaras, and they sing and they dance and they do different things. Play musical instruments. They assist the devas. That's commonly my experience. Interesting here, Sanatana Goswami, of all personalities, is indicating there's apparently Gandharvas in Vaikuntha. And why not? He then makes this interesting comment. Charanas served by playing instruments, Gandharvas served by singing, the Devatas and their wives served by showering flowers, Apsaras showered flowers since they did not dance while Krishna was dancing. The Siddhas served by offering various fragrances, perfumed powders. The sages served by offering prayers. So different, while Krishna is doing his dancing, they're assisting. So here's another painting where Krishna is holding his left arm up, and look in the background over by the shore, there's the residents of Braja watching Krishna's dancing on the hoods of the Kaliya serpent. And almost the same, but slightly different and better quality painting is the same posture and the Kaliya serpent. Krishna's dancing on the hoods of the Kaliya serpent. And then this painting shows the devas upstairs, showering flowers and playing musical instruments and doing what these personalities like to do, honoring Krishna's dance. Because this was performed out of affection as a sudden worship in a crowded situation, the order of offerings mentioned in this verse is not correct. Now, it doesn't say why that's not correct, but it makes that statement twice. Out of love, everyone performed all other services, or the order is not listed correctly because Shukadeva Goswami was in ecstasy. Whatever the case. There's seeing the Lord dancing, his servants in the heavenly planets immediately arrived there. This is the BBT translation for text 27. With great pleasure they began accompanying the Lord dancing. So this other translation, it's the same verse, but it's a paraphrase, and then here's the BBT translation of the same verse. With great pleasure they began accompanying the Lord's dancing by playing their musical instruments. They also made offerings of songs, flowers, and prayers. Kind of a shortened version of the same thing. That's text 27, here's 28. Kaliya had 101 prominent heads. When one of them would not bow down, Lord Sri Krishna would smash that stubborn head by striking it with his feet. Pow! Get down, mister. There's a song like that, right? Sataika here means 100 chief heads, because in the 13th verse of this chapter 16, 1,000 heads are mentioned. Krishna suddenly jumped upon those heads which had not bowed down, striking them with his feet. Again, in the background, you see the residents of Braja watching all this going on, and Krishna is smashing and smashing and smashing. Raise his hoods, no submission, smash, smash. Blood began flowing from Kaliya's mouths and noses. Now here's fire and blood also. Then, as Kaliya entered his death throes, he began wheeling his heads around and vomiting ghastly blood from his mouths and nostrils. Messy. Next verse. Exuding poisonous waste from his eyes, Kaliya would occasionally dare to raise up one of his heads, which would breathe heavily with anger. Krishna got him again. Then the Lord would dance on it and subdue it, forcing it to bow down with his foot. Now this doesn't show the forcing, but the next slide will show it. The demigods took each of these exhibitions as an opportunity to worship him. So he is entertaining the folks upstairs, the demigods. I mean, it's this Leela is capturing everybody. The whole this morning's session was very clear. He pulled the heartstrings of everybody in Braja. And now the demigods don't have that same Braja Prem towards Krishna, but they have more of an Aishwarya feature of regarding Krishna, and he's satisfying them. Here's the Kaliya serpent raising one of his hoods. Here's Krishna teaching him a lesson. Bow down, mister. Though all his limbs were out of control, poison came gushing only from his eyes. This indicates the snake's cruel glance. There are two meanings here. So what are the two meanings? One is literally, the other is figuratively. The one meaning is literally, the poison from his mouths and other openings of the body were exhausted. So what's left is his eyes, and some pockets where there's poison near his eyes, poison coming out of his eyes. That's literal. Then the figurative is the enviousness of a snake is captured to some degree by his eyes. And his eyes were then the remaining organ that was still working. And though there was envy coming out of his eyes, his glance was the cruel remaining functioning part of his body. Pounding with his feet on Kaliya's heads while dancing, Krishna removed the natural faults of the snake. He had a plan. It wasn't just like punish him. He was punish him. But because look what he had done to the resident of Vrindavan and was prepared to do it, indefinitely. So stop it. So he was stopping such tendency. But it was purification. That's, you can say, the higher purpose. Not just punish, but punish with a purpose. To purify. And it worked. He used his head, Kaliya, as the main prop and removed his evil nature, his strength, and his pride. Sanatana Goswami. Similarly, he punished the snake in places which held poison. Through this, the snake also received great fortune from the touch of his feet. Now, isn't it amazing how many different paintings there are of this pastime? And different styles and different times of history and different artists wanting to depict this wonderful pastime. By that, the snake fainted with the bliss of prema. Here he goes again, Sanatana Goswami attributing prema to Kaliya? The snake fainted with the bliss of prema. Vomiting poison was the expulsion of his unlimited internal faults. Here's Sanatana Goswami again. This is Prema Tarangani offered the suggestion that sometimes our acharyas take one word and it means this, and that the same word can mean the opposite. This is one of those cases. Rusha, his anger arising from love. Or the word can be arusha, no anger. Thus, he breathed without anger or with devotion. Sanatana Goswami got some insight into this. I want to have Pran Govinda do that research and find out what he actually writes, because this is a translation from Sanskrit from his commentary. Krishna made the snake give up his faults due to his nature. We all have our nature, and we all have the faults due to our conditioned nature. Look at this bloodied mouth of Kaliya, serpent, getting smashed and smashed and smashed. By that he gave benefit to the snake. Asas means Sridhar Swami, because that's included in this commentary. Among his heads, whichever one rose up, he, Krishna, was making that head bow down by the striking of his feet. Thus, becoming satisfied, he subdued that evil person. So moving right along, he's getting purified. Here's a nice long verse with a long color-coded section, and we're going to cover this color-coded Sanskrit. Smritva charachara guram purusham purnam narayanam. Lord Krishna's wonderful, powerful dancing trampled and broke all of Kaliya's 1,000 hoods. Then the serpent finally recognized Sri Krishna to be the eternal personality of Godhead, which means there was something inside before that trampling and purification that then was uncovered by Krishna's mercy. Thus, with his mind, Kaliya took shelter of the Lord. Yay. It's an interesting painting. He still has his left hand on the tail of the Kaliya serpent, but down below, by his right foot, he has the right foot on the head of a human-looking type of person. Though the seed of bhakti in the form of mercy had previously been planted in Kaliya's heart by his wives, this is Vishwanath, not Sanatana, who were exalted devotees, it could not sprout because of his cruel conduct arising from aparad, as seed sown on barren ground cannot sprout. When his offense vanished, Vishwanath writes, through the punishment by the touch of Krishna's feet, suddenly the seed began to sprout. Whereas previously Kaliya was vomiting poison, now that his poison was exhausted, he began to vomit blood. Then he had been cleansed of, this is Krishna book, cleansed of the vile contamination within his heart that had manifested as serpent's venom. This is this, you get bodies according to subtle desire. So you got a serpent body for that reason. And that subtle body producing the gross body with serpent body has poison, as serpents have it. But the heart had become cleansed, and the venom was gone. The dancing was amazing because it included various moves, such as Bhranti and Rachaka, described by Bharata Muni. Any girls here have done Bharatnatyam dancing and know what those terms mean? You know what those terms mean? You raising your hand? You've heard those terms? Have you taken Bharatnatyam dance? Yeah. Have you heard these terms before? Not yet. Ask your teacher. Give them a quiz. And you ask them, where did you learn? And is it from this disciplic succession from Bharat Muni? Probably. At least some derivation thereof. Sometimes it's not so straight line, but sometimes it is. Real good teachers know all this language. They know the dance stuff. And the reason is that the reason for Bharatnatyam dance, the reason for anything Vedic, is to know Krishna. To stimulate love for Krishna is the way to know Krishna. Want to serve Krishna in different moods. So different dance steps, including dancing on plates and dancing on balls and moving. Have you done the thing with the bells on your ankles? Yes? Yes? And you stamp, stamp, stamp. Then you move over and stamp, stamp. You know how that one. And you say different syllables. Ta, 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 ta. Right? Something like that. And then you do it 500 times and you get the dance step down. Then you move on to the next one. So that's dance teachers, Bharatnatyam and Bharata Muni. Natyam means dance or drama. It can also mean drama, dance and drama. And it's teaching through mudras and steps and this and that, and in drama similarly, it's a stimulation of love, or giving the audience an experience of rasa. That's what it is. And the Bharatanatyam is in relation to Krishna. It's to stimulate feelings of love, of varieties towards Krishna. That's the purpose. Or it was amazing because by dancing, Krishna struck Kaliya on his head. Though he danced, Krishna danced to punish the snake, he ultimately gave him mercy, not just, headache. Getting wounded, this is Sanatana Goswami again, indicates that the dancing was the greatest mercy. The snake became humbled with removal of his pride. Actually, by destroying 1,000 faults, he became pure. Thus, he remembered the Lord. Phew, at last. So there's the Kaliya's wives. They start to appear. Kaliya fixed his mind. This goes back to the verse. Remember the first word in the verse? Smritva, or that subsection. Fixed his mind on Krishna, who contemplated Krishna and surrendered to him alone. He took shelter of the Lord in his mind, Manasi, since he could not physically act because of great pain. Knowing Smritva, Krishna as Narayana, understanding that he, Krishna, is heavier, Guru, than the whole universe made of moving and non-moving beings. Our Acharya is just breaking apart that word for word of the Sanskrit and, revealing Krishna and how the dance was displaying Krishna. And Kaliya got it once he had been purified. Since Krishna supports everything, though he was a child, yet he was not a child, being the oldest person, Purusham Purnam. Kaliya surrendered to him. We're getting close to the finish line. By his touch, pure love arose within Kaliya, and similar to Bali, he recognized the Lord and took shelter of him. Now, there's not a lot being said here about the comparison with Bali, but Bali is also in the category of a great devotee in the role of the king of demons. But in his heart of hearts, he was a great devotee. He's one of our Mahajans, Bali Maharaj. And he defied Shukracharya, the priest of the demons, when Shukracharya said, no, don't surrender to him, he'll take everything. And he said, yes, and he took everything. And he was happy. And the Lord wanted to praise him and display his greatness in this way. So Jiva Goswami is writing something similar. Text 31. Here come the wives to the rescue. When Kaliya's wives saw this, they felt great distress. They have mixed feelings, we'll hear. With their clothing, ornaments, and hair scattered in disarray, they then approached the eternal personality of Godhead. Now, notice in the bank of the Kaliya lake, there's the residents of Braja watching this whole scene. And there's Krishna still holding the tail of the Kaliya serpent. He likes that tail. The wives until now had been indifferent towards their cruel husband, but now they were in sorrow. So their emotion shifted by transcendental stimulation of Krishna. They thought previously, let him die. Then, as widows, we can fully surrender to the Lord. Not a nice thought. But when they saw symptoms of sanchari bhav, a little Rupa Goswami lesson. Sanjari Bhav, such as humility, regret, and indifference to his suffering condition. He was detached from his suffering condition. It manifested in his body. They thought, he has become a Vaishnav. This is good fortune for us. We should try to save him. And so they did. And they were successful. But it was part of the plan. It's part of the whole Leela. Krishna's reciprocating with everybody, A to Z. Though the Lord was pleased with his surrender, Kaliya's surrender, in order to show the greatness of his wives, in order to give special mercy to the wives of Kaliya, Krishna did not give up his position on Kaliya. He's still, dancing on his hoods. Next to the last verse, their minds very much disturbed. Those saintly ladies, very clever. They placed their children before them. Very clever, huh? And then bowed down to the Lord, laying their bodies flat on the ground. Now they're in the ocean, or the river, so how they flat on the ground. But then they folded their palms, their hands in supplication, and approached him. Here's a nice painting. They're putting the children in the front, so that Krishna will be nice. Were they not afraid of their husband's offense? The wives felt in their hearts that Krishna was the Lord of all living beings. Bhutapatim. Though they were afraid, where else could they go? They surrendered to him, crying painfully, please protect us. And that's the end of the section. So here's one more Rupa Goswami verse. And hopefully the recording is going to work.
Kaliyasya panaratna kuttimam kuttayan padasaroja ghattanai mangalani vitanotu tandare pandita savashikanda shekhara.
May Lord Krishna, who wears a peacock feather crown and is the expert dancer, who with his lotus feet kicked the jeweled hoods of Kaliya, grant auspiciousness to you. So that ends our session. And tomorrow begins, tomorrow evening. We're going to get to meet the wives of the Kaliya serpent. These are special ladies. Pure devotee ladies, all of them. So let's see if there's some discussion. One of the things I look forward to in coming to Alachua is the question and answer session, because you all come up with some really good questions. Yeah. Or not just questions, just discussion.
Maharaj.
You're on. Go ahead.
So, Maharaj, my question is from yesterday and somewhat today. There are two things we heard yesterday. One was when the cowherd boys and the cows, they drank poison.
Yeah.
Then Krishna, I think you described that, one of the acharyas described in the commentary that Krishna was also suffering from their suffering.
Yes.
And then Krishna, through his glance, he brought them back. And so my question was more like a free will kind of thing, in the sense that Krishna, through his Leela Shakti, he's kind of forcing things on the Vrajvasis and the cowherd boys, and
He-
not
he-
forcing is the right word, but
That's the right word. It's his sanctioning.
he's sanctioning things. And same thing he did with Kaliya today. What we heard is by dancing on him, then he changed his mind. Now he's become a devotee. So
Well, he became purified.
he became
That's-
yeah. So I'm thinking for a sadhaka, we want that, but we don't get it. We want Krishna. We want to sometimes we think
Oh.
Krishna force us to. I mean, my point is sometimes we want Krishna to force us to become like get rid of all our anarthas, and just because for us it's difficult ourselves to do it. So Krishna, why don't you just do it?
Oh, he's
finish
he's
it.
more than willing. You must have short-term memory.
That is true. But I saw lot of free will not having their free will, but we always talk about a free will, and there is a point of us doing an effort and Krishna's mercy coming together, and then it's
Yeah.
happening.
Well, but he's not a cookie cutter Krishna. He doesn't. You stamp your foot and he jumps. He does what you want because you want. It's not like that. That's not a relationship with Krishna. In his own sweet will, in his own sweet way, in his own sweet time. But, the problem is not we're not getting purified fast enough. We say ouch when there's some discomfort. And if you haven't had some discomfort lately, wait a while. No, the pace. So if just stepping back, the nature of the question, the pace or rate, the speed at which purification takes place, it can be different for different people. It is different for different people, and Krishna isn't obliged. He's Sudurlabha, Bhava Bhakti, one of the stages, sadhana, bhava, and prema bhakti. And one of the characteristics of bhava bhakti is it's surdurlabha, very difficult to attain. So a lot of attaining is in Krishna's own will. And how strong is your or my or any one of our desire to be in that ecstatic relationship with Krishna and nothing else. It's the something else that's the problem for us. We have too many other things that are desires for us.
Just a quick comment.
Yeah, please. We give you the microphone when you want to comment.
There's that saying that we should never be in the mood that I want to see Krishna. We should be in the mood where Krishna has the desire to want us to appear to us. So that in that mood, then we're showing our humility and our willingness to serve him. So then Krishna will be feeling more obliged to want to appear
Yeah.
as
Attract Krishna.
the other
Not
way
you,
around.
you, Krishna should be attracted to me. But we should act in such a way that Krishna wants to see us. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, sure.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. I have two questions. One is about writing of Sanatana Goswami.
Mm.
I understand that he is looking the Leela as a different perspective, in a different mood. Sometime I also have some different realization or different understanding of when I'm reading Srila Prabhupada book, and I feel like it's speculation, but I also feel like sometimes not changing the principle at the same time if I'm understanding something differently.
You're being too vague. Can you be a little more specific and less vague? For example,
So recently I was reading fourth canto, and one particular verse where Prabhupada is saying that doing the austerity is getting rid of sinful activities in the past. And I understood as like a loophole
no,
where
because that's temporary. Austerity that gets frees one from sinful reaction doesn't take away the tendency to do it again.
yes,
That's not a loophole. It's a cover-up.
but to getting rid of the past sinful reactions,
Okay, fine.
austerity does help. Am I
Okay,
right?
no problem.
Okay.
Do austerity. It's nice. Tapodavyam putrakayena sattvam. Rishabdev teaches.
Okay. So my question is like, when we have that perspective, different understanding of pastimes, is it okay to write, or we have to stick with all the instruction we have given by other acharyas?
You want something besides the instruction from acharyas? What's that? I don't understand your question.
So all our understanding should be based on
Yes.
acharyas.
Guru Sadhu Shastra.
Okay.
Guru Sadhu Shastra.
And
That's our compass.
any new realization we get.
You match it up. Does there alignment with Guru Sadhu Shastra?
Okay.
And if the answer is yes, fine. The answer is no, it bounces.
Okay. Thank you, Maharaj.
Or at least you can put it in a parking lot and say, maybe I don't know the Guru Sadhu Shastra for this one yet. I'll put it in the parking lot. But you don't accept it because you got this realization that says something or other.
Okay. Thank you, Maharaj. And the second question I have, like, as you mentioned, there are so many pictures of this Leela.
Yeah, shoot.
Throughout India, there are so many actually regional songs also about this Leela.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many.
Yes, so many.
And-
There's a section that's just slide after slide after slide of artwork in art museums and places. Go ahead.
I come from Gujarat, so we had a very popular song based on this Leela.
I bet.
We
You probably
often
have many.
and but that doesn't match with the Bhagavatam's explanation, because Krishna is trying to wake up Kaliya. He's sleeping, and the wives are all requesting him that, because he's like little boy and they're attracted to him. The song is very beautiful song, but my question is it okay to
Sing that song.
sing and relish sometime? It is not based on Bhagavad.
If it's same principle, and the bottom line is bounce. If there's alignment with Guru Sadhu Shastra, fine. And if there's deviation or distortion, it's not fine. So, it's fine for Gujaratis that like that music. And, we don't condemn them because Krishna's in there somewhere, but, it's a distorted picture of Krishna and Kaliya and, the pastime. So we don't, I don't advise you. You can do as you wish, but I don't advise you to, because the music is nice and is popular and all the other kids are doing it on the block, so let's go do it. There's a lot of that in the world, and we don't, thank you, but no thank you. But if Rupa Goswami writes something, or a great acharya, then there's enough to keep you busy. Just like for example, if the singing aspect is fantastic, and even the words that are written in verse can be sung. The Bhagavatam, like we mentioned, Raghunath Bhatta Goswami sang the Bhagavatam. So sing the Bhagavatam. Or there's writings that are not exactly sung, at least I'm not familiar with. So today I spent substantial time reading Brihad Bhagavatamrita and Ananda Vrindavan Champu by Kavi Karnapur on the Kaliya Lila. You keep yourself really busy through disciplic succession, Guru, Sadhu, Shastra, and just stay there and be happy.
Thank you, Maharaj.
And there's enough distractions already. We don't need more. Yeah, you've been very patient and enthusiastic both.
In the middle, you had a slide about Kaliya's poison coming out of his eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yesterday's class you said that the eyes where the snake hears through the eyes, sarpa.
Yeah.
There was one slide like that.
Yes, I remember.
So it reminded me of how in Devaki's pastime it says that her 6 sons represented the 6 feelings, lust, anger, greed.
Kam, Krodh, Lobh,
And
right.
once they were removed, then the womb was ready for Krishna to be there.
Yeah, Vasudeva,
So,
the son of Vasudeva. From the mind of Vasudeva to the womb of Devaki, or mind of Devaki, then the womb of Devaki. But the womb was made clear of any obstruction. How does the connection between the eyes and the womb of Devaki?
because he doesn't have ears where poison may be filled and not able to hear Krishna, so the poison is coming out of the eyes in the end. I just felt little connection.
Good for you.
Thank you for encouragement.
There's a very nice verse. I because of your speaking, I want to share something. It's a little different, but similar. There's a nice verse. Nirvita Taishayar Upagiyamana Bhavoshada Shotra Manobi Ramat. The mana, the mind become purified by the process of hearing. And the process of hearing is like a medicine that cures the disease of material existence. Now, we normally don't think of, the ear as the way to take medicine that cures the disease of the heart and the mind. But that's the Bhagavatam's method. And what you said rang that bell for me. So I encourage you, find the verse, become familiar, maybe for the next week or so, read the verse every morning, meditate on its meaning. It's the Srimad Bhagavatam, which reminds me of an announcement I was supposed to make, or some little promotion of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Thank you for reminding me of Srimad Bhagavatam. Many of you already have Srimad Bhagavatam in your home. And of those of you that have Srimad Bhagavatam in your home, probably you're engaged in some way or another in reading, either reading group or on your own, or with your family, or something, or several somethings. But the best, there's certainly, Bhagavatam is available digitally, but Bhagavatam is also available in a printed form. I'm just a little sharing with all of you about the size of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Now this is the latest BBT Bhagavatam size. And when I saw this Bhagavatam size, it's the one volume, but I'm used to a bigger page, and I just, have become accustomed to it and a little more like attached to a bigger size. So I wasn't exactly complaining, but I was kind of complaining. And so I contacted both Swavas and Vaisheshika Prabhu. And it was like, hey, what's going on kind of message. Because I like this size excuse me, the older size, the larger size, and you're using just this size. So I got a little bit of the history of how it became this size. And Vaishesha Prabhu took the time and trouble to explain to me why this size. And one of his explanations is people like it. And one of the reasons they like it is it's more transportable. And I said, I'm a sannyasi. I don't carry my library with me, but I have my computer, and the digital form is. But when I have a book, I'm accustomed to the larger size. Then so I did a little mini survey. I was at a gathering like this. There, a little more people, and who has some reason why they like this size, or they prefer the bigger size. And there was a number of people, like immediately, I like this size because when I get on a train or go on a plane, I can put it in my backpack and it's right there. It's more portable than the bigger size. Like there were half a dozen people that said that immediately. They like this size because for convenience, or rather than reading in their home. And then somebody else said, I like the bigger size because I read it at my home. And then another person said, from the point of view of book distribution, both sides are good. Because if somebody has this size, you can ask them to get that size. Somebody has that size, you can ask them to get this size. You can sell them 2 sets of the Bhagavatam, when they take for their travel, when they leave at their home. So I passed that on to Vaishesha, who said, that's a good one. But, the availability of the Bhagavatam sets has a lot to do with supply and demand, and where they have a good printing price. And he went through all of that. Very, very meticulous in helping a little sannyasi over here understand what's going on with the BBT. And it's all interwoven with the European BBT and the international BBT and the India BBT and North American BBT, and they have some similar issues and some differences and so forth. So this is the size, and if the people want the bigger size, probably they're going to start ordering some quantity of both, so people can have either, whatever they prefer. But for the time being, it's this size. And coming up, as you all, whoever's left here, many people have gone because it's getting late. The Bhadra Purnima is coming, and it's a time of the year then for all of ISKCON to promote people receiving and giving Srimad Bhagavatam sets. So is there anybody here in this room that A or B that doesn't have a Bhagavatam set and would like to take a Bhagavatam set home, or can arrange it for it between now and Bhadra Purnima, or would like to make a gift copy to somebody they know somewhere? And if there is, you don't have to raise your hand, but if you know of somebody, or you would like a set or something like that, Sri Vrindavan sitting over here is taking some responsibility for the temple to increase book distribution, and particularly Srimad Bhagavatam sets. So that was a paid political advertisement.
Thank you, Maharaj. The set is $220 for English. It's that nice, yes.
You want to take it home with you? Yeah?
But I didn't mention that. Mine's really small.
Yours is really small.
Yeah.
Oh, the 44 volume.
Yes, I'm aware of the minis. I'm aware.
Is that the mini size?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's a little hard to read.
Yeah.
But it's travelable. So.
Okay. Okay. So I think it's time to wrap it up. Thank you all for coming. And I guess we'll see some of you, if not many of you, again tomorrow. Tomorrow? Tomorrow. Tomorrow.
Morning.
Yeah. I read it. I pre-read the verse. I know what the topic is. But tomorrow evening, wives of the Kaliya serpent.